And this is our ceremonial field here. That it was, when we first came here, this was just I won't say empty, but it was an empty hay field. The only thing growing was what might be considered hay, plus a lot of thistle and weeds and things like that. And every tree here, or well, the majority of trees here we planted, and the rest of them we allowed to grow. So we have, there's the ceremonial maple tree there, there's Bateys, that's a ceremonial sycamore right there. We have the tree for our son Hathaway behind that. You can't really see it, but you can see his Batey. Up on the hill, these are all Conucos. And then here we have our pigeons, if you can hear in the background. And so this, the whole concept is to reforest as kind of an open forest, this whole field here, because Mother Earth needs more forest. And these here are our Conucos. There's one at the bottom, two, and there's three. We started to make these, starting with this one here, in 2012. And from that, the rest of them came. And there's actually a fourth one further down that you can't see. This one here is all elderberry. This one here has things like peach, there's a cherry tree, there's garlic in there, and there's flowers in there. And then, as I said, this one up top has a lot of nursery trees. There's some pine trees in there, there's a lot of native shrubs, and so on. And this field used to be a horse field. And we noticed when we had the horses on it, who ate everything in sight, that there was a tremendous amount of erosion going on, and it was pretty horrifying to us to see the devastation that they caused by eating everything and allowing the erosion to take place. So this is our solution to that, was to make these Conucos, which capture the water and prevent the water from just running down the hill and eroding the soil. And of course, also on these Conucos, we can grow so many different things: food, medicine, plants for our use for trabajos in the Manaso. And the garden itself also feeds so many birds, butterflies, bees, wasps, all kinds of beneficial insects, to such an extent that we really don't have a problem with pests in our garden, so-called pests in our garden. Once in a while we may have too many of the aphids on our cabbages, but that's the extent, and we don't have to spray. We don't use any chemical sprays. We don't use any chemical fertilizers. We use all the things provided by Mother Earth, and our partners over here. These pigeons provide a tremendous amount of manures that we then make into compost. And while compost is not necessarily a glamorous part of the garden, it's from a palero's perspective, it's an amazing trabajo in and of itself. So you see here this compost pile, and it started out probably 4 times bigger than that earlier this year. And we layered in there, one of the things we layered in there was a couple lambs that had died. They went in there, manures from the pigeons, manures from the sheep, wood chips, old hay, like rotten hay. All those things got layered in there, and then it became extremely hot as the little microorganisms began to do their job, and we kept turning it and turning it and turning it, and now it's almost ready to use. If we open it up here, you can see there's some really good soil, and it actually smells fresh now. So that's the point. You want your compost to smell good at the end of the day. Here's some ancestral trees we have up here. A sycamore that's growing at a tremendous rate, We have our Mundo sobre Mundo stone, which is a pretty big boulder. And you come in here, and this is all things that have grown, that we planted, and things that have appeared, like that sumac tree right there just appeared. Got a bunch of walnut trees over there that have grown. As you come over here, you can see what looks like just a bunch of trees. That's in fact what we created as a moon circle. And as a way of illustrating what it's like to work with Mother Earth, with the most amazing fundamento of all, Mother Earth. When we originally made this circle, there was not a tree in sight. It had stones, it was very bare. We had 4 like pergola type structures around it as a moon circle. And there's still a picture out there on the internet floating around by someone that came to visit us with that circle in it. And we laugh when we come across it because this has changed so dramatically. And it's changed because we weren't rigid in how we relate. We aren't rigid in how we relate to Mother Earth. And Mother Earth had her own plans for the space as well. And we planted some of these trees, but the trees that are bigger are the ones that she planted. And she wanted this circle enclosed in trees. So, you know, things change, things transform.
The understanding that we had originally when we did this thing, going back to my ECT, you know, and some other people out there, that whole thinking changed as we looked further and further into what was being presented, which was really a fantasy.
Yeah.
And that was one of the reasons why, you know, you could have that on your website, but the understanding is deeper than what you have on that website when you come and you work directly with Mother Earth. You're working directly with the things around you, and that you have a contribution that you put in there from your sweat, from your mind, from your heart and your spirit.
Yeah, and unfortunately there's quite a lot of fantasies out there floating around concerning Taino traditions. Over here we have a big pergola we made, and then we put this vine, trumpet vine, to grow up it, and the trumpet vine has taken over. It looks like a tree. It's actually a pergola back there, and the trumpet vine's growing on it. Here's the central batey. You can see, again, it's surrounded by trees now. This used to be wide open.
I mean, you could go back to some of the original pictures that we put some years ago, and you'll see the difference. Here's where the lodge is, purification lodge, you know, and I mean...
And it's all so lush here.
And there are children who were born here, and who've been here all their lives, who are learning the essence of the bilongos that are here, the medicine that is here. They're learning about everything that's around us, and that's what we want. You know, it's not just a fantasy, it's a reality, if that's what you want to, however you want to see it and look at it, this is it. These are the 4 moments of the sun.
There are 4 trees in here. 1, 2, 3, and 4 is over there. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And they're planted on the 4 directions. There's a space in the middle that we can do a fire, and we do a fire. And these trees, we planted them as pretty small trees, and they've grown very well, very, very well. 2 oaks, a maple, and a hornbeam. And there's these other Conucos you can see as they go across here. They're growing a lot of things. This is the batey that we did the Day of the Dead last year. And we've made a batey here for our son, Hatwe. That's his tree, right there. And you can see with his placenta under it. We planted it with his placenta. And then you can see some corn growing behind the stones there, behind the petroglyphs on those stones. This is a very important tree. It's a very important Batey. And there's his entrance so he could come in. The stones go all the way around.
Here's where we have begun many of his ceremonies.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he's very attached to the tree and has a strong relationship with it. Here's our corn growing. We tend to put it in a field so the deer can't get it because they love it. And then over there's another compost pile right there. More elderberry, and this was what the birds planted, these ones. Planted that, and then we have a Conuco here with some plum trees, a little bit of elderberry, and it has sweet corn that we're eating almost every day. We're eating sweet corn from here. It's like a maroon colored sweet corn. And then over there's more of a regular colored sweet corn.